Hello YouTube and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be looking at Dehancer, which is a film emulation plugin made for a bunch of editing softwares and is very popular. You've probably already heard about it, but it is one of, if not the best, film emulation plugin that exists. Now, full disclosure, this video is affiliated with Dehancer. They sent me this product to review. I was not sponsored. It's not a paid advertisement. This is an affiliated video where they send me the product and I can review it and say whatever I want. The only thing they wanted me to mention is that they are running their Dehancer Colourist Awards right now. These submissions are open. It runs through December 15th, and I think that's when the submissions close. It's a free-to-enter film competition where you can enter, your creative. I think it's got to do, obviously, it's a Colourist Awards thing, so it's basically showing a film that has something to do with color and a color grade. Obviously, probably using Dehancer. That is open right now. It's entirely free to enter. I'll have a link in the description below. Other than that, everything from this point on is my own opinion, and it is my reaction to this product. The way I'm going to do this is we're going to split this into two sections, basically. The first section is going to be using Dehancer as basically the main color grading node, and then the second half is going to be using it as kind of an added finishing touch type of node, because those are kind of the two ways that I see myself using this product. Either using it as a full let's get a film look using their presets, and then also just using it as I'm going to do the color grading myself, and we're going to use kind of the grain and the effects on top of my personal grade. So that's what this is going to be split into. So first things first, we're going to look at the plugin, basically using this to color grade this shot. So what I've got right now is I have this converted into DaVinci Wide Gamut, and then we're going to be using that in these three nodes right here to color grade this shot. So the exposure and HDR nodes are just for tweaking exposure and stuff, and then all of the color is going to come from this Dehancer node right here. Now, I'm going to reset this real quick so that it's back to default. So when you apply the effect, this is what it's going to default throw you into. Now it's going to have a source up here, and then this color profile is going to be enabled. So that's why it gives it kind of this blue tint right off the bat. So first thing I'm going to do is disable that. And the second thing I'm going to do is change my color space to DaVinci Wide Gamut, because that's what I'm working in. If you're not working in DaVinci Wide Gamut, you can change that to either the camera. If you want to do it as a single node, you can basically input your colors or your camera's information. It'll interpret that, convert it to Rec 709 or whatever you want to work in. The biggest thing I should note is with Dehancer, there's multiple versions. The Pro version does allow these sources like DaVinci Wide Gamut, Cine on Film Log, and ACES, which are kind of industry standard ways of dealing with color and color managing your timeline. For the light version, these are not available. You get Rec 709, Rec 2020, Gamut 2.4, and I think those are the only ones you get. You don't get Cine on Film, DaVinci Wide Gamut, or ACES. So that is one thing to note. If you like to work in DaVinci Wide or ACES or something like that, the Pro version might be a little bit better for you. Now, looking at this shot, let's color grade it. So I'm just going to do a standard exposure adjustment here, and I'm going to bring it up. I want the shot to be very bright. This was from my sister's wedding, and this was a project where I did do film emulation for it, but I didn't have Dehancer at the time, so I just used the built-in DaVinci stuff, and it worked pretty solid, but I think I can get a lot more out of Dehancer. So let's get a little bit more contrast. Okay, that's looking solid. Just a basic exposure adjustment. Now let's get into Dehancer. So I've input my color space. I disabled this film profile, but we're going to re-enable that. And we're going to find something that we like. So this is another thing that the Pro version does have, is 60 plus profiles. I didn't count how many there are on the website. It lists at 60 plus. And there is a lot. There is a lot of film profiles. And so all of these are representing different types of film, and they're all based on these actual film types that existed, or I guess still exist. And so you can get all of these different looks. We're gonna go with this one, Kodak Pro Image 100. That's giving us this general warm look. Below this, you've got the film developer, you've got the film compression, and you've got the expand. You've got all of, this video is not going to go over every single little thing in this plugin. I need to say that right now. There's so many things you can do in this plugin, and I don't see myself using all of them. I'm really gonna focus on the things that I will use most often and use in my work, because I think those are the most important things, and those are the things that I really want to talk about, because those are the things I have a real opinion on, and how those affect the footage, and how those are things that I can or can't use in my own work. So we've got all of these different things. I'm gonna close these down, just focus on specifically the things that I wanna use. So what I'm gonna use right now is the print, which is gonna give me this secondary look. You can just use the print if you just want this like Kodak 2383 film look, which is a very popular film look. You can just use the print instead of using the film and print. So that's what it looks like with just the print. You can see it's already giving us a look, and I actually really like that. I think it preserves the image, so we're gonna keep it with just that. I'm gonna actually disable the film profile, and we're just gonna use the print. Then we have this color head tab, which this is one that I very, very much like after having played around with this for a few days now. This one I really like because it allows you to kind of adjust the color. So as you see, it says yellow blue here, and then if we move it to the left, it's gonna get more yellow. Move it to the right, it's gonna get more blue. Pretty simple there. So we're just gonna add a little bit of yellow to this image, just make it a little bit warmer. We've then got magenta green. I do see that there's some plants, and I think this is more of this is still like a brown like sculpture thing. So I'm gonna see if I can get some green in the image to maybe give it a little pop to those plants there. And yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that look right there. Let's then go to cyan red. I think I'm gonna try and add some cyan into this image. Yeah, because if I add red, it makes it a little washed out. We need a little bit of, we need to kind of balance out the image. If we're gonna have some warm, have some cool, kind of keep the image balanced. Don't go too far into one tone. There's then the shadow tone, which for this, let's see, that's okay. So that's warm. It's warmer, cooler. So we're gonna go make it a little bit cooler in those shadows. Again, just trying to add some color contrast here. The midtones, we're gonna keep those kind of warm. The highlights, definitely warm on the highlights. Definitely warm on the highlights. Cool does not look good there. I'm just keeping it very subtle. Doing a little bit more of those cooler shadows to give me a little more of the look that I'm going for. Okay, going back up to the print tab, this is one thing I like. So I really like saturated, like vibrant colors. When you're in this print tab, you can adjust the color density, which is gonna just add, that's all the way up, that's all the way down. It's very subtle, which is another thing I like. I do like subtle effects. And I'm just gonna push that color density up, and then we can add this tonal contrast, which is just adding some contrast to the image, but also kind of adding it and making the color pop as well, which I think is really nice. So we're just gonna add a touch of contrast there, maybe a little bit less. Yeah, right there, looks good. So now if we disable these, we can see what those are doing. So we've got our film print node, or not node, but section here. Turn that on, it's giving us this look. And then our color head is giving us this extra color. So again, all of the color effects and stuff are being adjusted inside of the Dehancer plugin, which is really cool. We then have all of these effects. There's a bunch of them. Most are disabled by default, except for the film grain that's like there from the start. There's a bunch of film grains, a bunch of different ones, depending on the look you're going for. Personally, I do like the 35mm look. I'm not someone who's really looking for like crazy grain. I want something that's gonna look like, the way that I look at it is I want like the highest quality of film, right? Like this is, you know, if we turn this on, I mean, this is 8mm ISO 5, I guess it'd probably be ISO 50 because it's a daytime scene. So 8mm ISO 50, this is a bunch of grain and it's got that 8mm look. but personally, big fan of 35 mil because I feel like it's the nicest looking grain, and it feels more like movies that I've seen in, like that classic like film movie look, as opposed to like 16 or 8 mil, which is more of like a like super vintage, like I don't want to say like home film style like look, but yeah. They then got Halation, which is an effect that is only available in Dehancer Pro. You can also buy it separately as its own thing. It looks really good. The grain also looks really, really good. I've looked at it in comparison to the DaVinci version of their film grain, and the same with the Halation. Dehancer does it better. And I think that's the biggest thing. If you're looking for the absolute best film emulation, Dehancer is what you want. Dehancer is going to give you the best looking film emulation there is. So if we look at Halation, just adding this nice little red glow in the highlights there. If we kind of bring that up, kind of want a little more for this shot because that light just looks really, really good. We've got a bunch of different options for this. I'm going to keep this at the default 35 because I'm going with 35 mil for my film grain, so I kind of want to keep that all consistent. We then have bloom, which just adds this kind of like soft bloom to your footage, which I think looks really, really nice. And if you're familiar with things like the Pro Mist filters and stuff like that, bloom kind of mimics that digitally, and I think it looks really good. I think it's the biggest thing is that the film emulation in this is so good to the point where you definitely, if you do it right and you really use this effect to its full potential, you can make it look like film. You could probably trick people into being like, wow, was this shot on film? So, I mean, with this shot right here, I could put my hands up, you know, timer's up, and look at this shot and go, yeah, that looks really, really good. And I'm super happy with this. If we disable this Dehancer node, we can see what that's doing to the footage. So this initial shot looks nice, but it looks very digital. And then once you throw Dehancer on, it transforms the image and makes it look completely different. So I have the other shots prepared here, but I'm basically just going to apply the same nodes to those and then tweak exposure and stuff like that. So here's the shots using the Dehancer node to do all of the color, all of the effects, really give it the style. Now is a great time to mention that if you use code Milo, you can get 10% off Dehancer. It works for the Pro version or the Lite version. It's just 10% off whatever you buy. So looking at this shot right here, I have just added Dehancer onto the end of it, and I've done all of my own color grading. I did the same thing where it's DaVinci wide color managed space, and then all of my grading and whatnot is done throughout the various nodes. One thing to note, if you're using this product, I encountered this problem. I kind of freaked out for a second because if you don't have this set right, so if this is set to like Rec 709, you're gonna get a bunch of this like digital noise, and it's gonna look kind of bad. You have to just make sure that you select, if you're in DaVinci Wide Gamut, select that, and then that'll kind of clean that up really quick. So if we look at the shot without the Dehancer on it, we can see this is the color grade that I've got going on. It's nothing crazy. I just used the HDR wheels to give it kind of that warm, like vintage feel, kind of. Added some saturation, tweaked the colors a little bit, and then just used this as kind of a finisher, and it just polishes off the image and makes it look really, really good. I think especially in shots like this where you've got these bright highlights, as we can see like his fur and stuff, it just looks really good. It does just look really, really good. And the bloom, I think looks super subtle, but it adds just a nice little touch. And the halation as well just looks very, very nice, and it definitely gives that film look to the footage that it's going for. It just looks very, very solid. Now, the reason that I wanted to try this out is because I am someone who really likes to color grade their own footage. I want to have full control over the color. I don't use a lot of presets, so being able to use Dehancer while still color grading the shots myself is very important. So using it just for the effects, just for the grain, the bloom and halation is, in my opinion, a totally valid way of using this. And they do sell those effects separately. So if you don't need all of the presets, if you're someone like me who's like, man, I like to color grade my work, but I'd like some grain and some bloom and halation stuff to add on top of my footage, that's also a good way to go if you don't want to, you know, buy the whole package. So now I'm just going to show you these shots that I've color graded myself, and then added Dehancer over the top of them to give it that film look. Okay, so final verdict. What do I think of Dehancer? Well, ultimately, I think from what I've seen, the way the grain looks, the way the halation looks, the bloom, all of the effects and stuff, they look a lot better than like what DaVinci has. They just look so much better and so much more accurate. It really does feel like it's shot on, like it's, I mean, obviously that's what it does. It's supposed to convert your digital footage to film, but that's what the presets in DaVinci are also supposed to do, and I feel like a lot of the time with the ones in DaVinci, it still ends up feeling like it's just an effect that I'm throwing on my digital footage, whereas this really makes it feel like you are converting your footage into film and giving it like the proper film look. So I think when it comes to quality, this is as good as it gets for film emulation. With that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.